Testing, 1, 2, 3. Check, 1, 2, 3. This painting right here, I made that. It's my art channel. It's also my Star Trek fan fiction channel. And tonight, I'm just gonna wing this one. Normally I go over these things many times and practice them. But since nobody actually watches these things, and nobody cares, I'm just gonna wing it. Now this will be the video that gets 10 billion views. I just know it. But if it does, make sure you like it and subscribe it. Ready? Here it goes. Captain's log, stardate 24:35. Kirk and the bridge crew were summoned to their posts at 2:30 in the morning after a red alert woke them from their sleep. Kirk arrived first and called for the red alert to stop. He traded places with the overnight commander, Lieutenant Stone, who was visibly shaken. "What's going on?" Kirk asked, taking his seat in the captain's chair. "There's a Klingon bird of prey 1,200 kilometers off our bow, and the commander is demanding to speak with you now," Stone replied. Dr. McCoy stepped through the turbolift doors and took his place by the captain, shaking his head in disgust. "When are you taking that down?" McCoy asked, referring to the dead Klingon captain, who was hanging by a rope, twisting in front of the main view screen. "In my own good time," Kirk replied. "I have other problems to deal with." "Like what?" McCoy asked. "I have another Klingon demanding to speak with me, perched off our bow and probably ready to fight." "You're not going to put him on the view screen, are you?" McCoy got out. "Put the Klingon on the screen," Kirk said, dismissing everything McCoy was saying. On the main viewer, the face of the Klingon commander appeared, and it didn't take long for him to notice the dead captain in the foreground, dangling and twisting. "Well, that answers my question," the Klingon said. "What question?" Kirk asked. "Where my captain is, or was," the Klingon replied. "Yeah, he's hanging out around my deck," Kirk replied with a grin. "I find your humor a great lack of respect for the dead, and for my crew specifically." "I recognize you," Kirk said. "I think I've seen your photo on some wanted posters. What's your name?" "My name is Kolog, and I am probably on many wanted posters, as are you, Captain Kirk." "You know me?" "Have we met?" Kirk asked. "Not personally. I know you from your long history as a killer of my kind," Kolog replied. "And I see you have not stopped." "Nor do I intend to," Kirk replied. "If you try anything to harm my ship, I will add you to my list." "Now that I know where my captain is, would you allow me to have his body out of respect for his family?" Kolog asked. "Are you kidding me? His family doesn't want him back, and you know it. Tell me why you really want his body," Kirk asked. Kolog leaned back in his chair and stroked his beard. "You do know a bit about us, Captain." By now, Spock had entered the bridge and was standing next to Kirk on the opposite side of McCoy. "Captain, I suggest we evacuate the area as soon as possible. We don't need to get into a fight with a bird of prey." "He'll chase us anyway, Spock. You know that. We're basically at a stalemate," Kirk said. McCoy said Spock wouldn't suggest something he knew wouldn't work. "What do you know we don't know, Spock?" McCoy asked. "The bird of prey has limitations and cannot maintain a chase for long," Spock replied. "That's it?" Kirk asked. "Is that right, Kolog? Is your ship that slow?" Kolog laughed and shook his head. "I assure you, Captain, my ship is not slow. And if I were you, I wouldn't take advice from a Vulcan, especially a half-human Vulcan." "Warp 8, Kirk said. "Now!" Check, check, 1, 2, 3. This is my 4th attempt at recording this video. Anyway, all the comments I get on this channel are negative because people don't think I'm canon. They don't think I'm accurate. I watch this show every night. I know the characters. This is my interpretation of Star Trek fan fiction. Ready to roll? Here it goes again. Captain's log 23:21. The Enterprise was en route to the starbase on the planet Sirius when Lieutenant Sulu noticed a light blinking on his helm control panel and relayed the information to Captain Kirk, who was sitting behind him. "Captain, the check engine light is blinking on my control panel," Sulu said. "Check engine light? This isn't a 76 Ford Pinto. It's a Federation flagship. What does the alert say? Sulu read aloud the prompt from the readout. We either have a bad energy conversion unit or a bad sensor. Kirk pressed a button on the arm of his command chair and called for Scott. Yes, sir, Scott replied over the intercom. We seem to have a check engine light alert. Are you aware? Kirk asked. We are working on the problem, Scott replied. And, Kirk asked, should I be worried about this? The energy conversion unit is fine, Captain, Scott replied. We have detected a transmission from an unknown source that seems to be triggering a false warning. From where? Kirk asked. Sulu spoke up. I think I found it, Captain. We have a new contact with an alien ship 6,000 kilometers off our starboard side and closing. Identity? Kirk asked. Unknown at this time, Sulu replied. Let me know when you identify the ship, Kirk said, and turn off that alarm. We are being hailed, Uhura said. I think the signal is coming from the unidentified ship. On the screen, Kirk said, scratching his chin. On the main viewer, a humanoid being appeared, sitting what looked like a captain's chair, surrounded by a bridge crew. Captain, the alien being said, I am Karnak, the captain of my ship. Are you responsible for the signal that we received? Kirk asked. Yes, we sent a message to you as a warning not to veer close to our system. Our sun may interfere with your ship and cause you undue harm to your ship and to your crew. I see, Kirk replied. I appreciate your concern. I don't believe I am familiar with your race. What do you call yourselves? We don't call ourselves anything, the alien replied. You can call us whatever you please. Makes communication difficult, but we can adapt, Kirk said. Has the Federation made contact with you previously? Kirk asked. Many years ago, the alien replied. Why have I never heard of you before? We have no records of your ship or any aliens that even resemble you. That's because every encounter with us you have ever had results in the disappearance of your ship, the alien replied. What do you mean, disappearance? We are like what you would call the Bermuda Triangle of space, the alien replied. The only way we can ensure our privacy is to make you disappear. How many times has this happened? Kirk asked. Maybe a dozen times over the last century, the alien replied. Uhura, send a message to Starfleet. Inquire about what this alien said about starship disappearances. Spock spoke up. I concur with what the alien says. I have researched Starfleet ship disappearances and there have been many in this sector without explanation. Captain, I can't raise Starfleet, Uhura replied. You're already gone, the alien said with a grin. Your Starfleet will not be able to contact you, and you'll be listed as missing. As of the beginning of our conversation, you have disappeared. Scott spoke up. I think they have a cloaking device and are using it to conceal us. Spock? Kirk asked. Spock looked into his blue light reader. I don't detect a cloaking device, but that doesn't mean there's not one in use. Find a way out, Kirk said. We need to make contact with Starfleet as soon as possible. I'm sorry, Captain, the alien replied, but you are no longer detectable to anyone outside our influence. We will render your ship powerless and tow you with a tractor beam back to our planet where you will be housed for a time and then disposed of. We cannot allow you to expose us. Sulu, set a photon torpedo on the alien ship, Kirk said. You will find we will not go down without a fight. Your torpedoes won't have any effect on us, the alien replied. This is not the first time we've captured an alien ship, and this won't be the last. Fire, Kirk said, and Sulu pressed the button on his console. 2 photon torpedoes shot forth from the Enterprise and burst the alien ship into dust. Uhura spoke up. I now have radio contact again. Good, Kirk said with a smile. Nobody F's with the Enterprise. Or me. Spock said, do you want us to contact Starfleet and file a report on this alien species and what they attempted to do with us? Yes, science officer. File a report and let's get back on our way, Kirk said, leaning back in his captain's chair. Right there is my playlist with all 50 of my, or 55 of these go through, like, subscribe, and enjoy.